Welcome to the Strong Bull Podcast, where serious athletes come to get after it. No shortcuts, no nonsense, proven methods backed by real science and training that hits hard. With over 40 years of combined experience, we're here to help you train smarter, lift heavier, and stay ahead of the game. Thanks for listening. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Strong Bull Podcast. I'm excited to get you guys another episode. We've been pumping these out weekly. We love all the feedback that we're getting. I'm your host today with my co-host, Dom Dixon, here with Rob Dela Cruz. Bringing up another topic that me and Rob pretty much spend the majority of our time talking about and extends to other topics. So today we're going to press record on this conversation and get you guys some good insight. So Rob, big topic that you and I have talked about pretty much from the first time we kind of hit it off and talked about our principles, our methodologies, which let me know exactly what kind of trainer you are. I'm a big fan of what you do, and you've definitely mentored me a lot. But let's talk about the difference between open-minded coaches and closed-minded coaches and your personal opinion on both.
Well, like when it comes to what you see is with the closed-minded coaches, they usually follow some methods and they're not open to anything else.
Yeah.
And like what I see, there's that saying that, what is it? It's methods are many, but principles are few.
I like that.
So like all those methods are based on certain principles. And when you go ahead and you kind of restrict yourself and become dogmatic to that method, you close your mind to anything else that could possibly work or you can integrate.
Yeah.
And what I've seen over the years with those people, it's usually like a popular method or someone that's doing something different, getting a lot of traction. They become like really closed-minded. But when you look back and you kind of peel it back a little bit, most of those methods do have some principles you can and they're almost the same as other methods that people use. I love being very open-minded, and like over the years, you're able to integrate other like their principles for methods. And I was taught a long time ago by a good coach. He's like, don't follow my method. Just use some of the principles and come up with your own.
Do you think a lot of people stick to the methods? I mean, your personal experience, stick to those kind of like, default to closed-mindedness because of the success they once had with a certain method that they use? Or do you think it's more of an ego?
Probably a little bit of both, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I think a little bit too is some people get when they don't know you don't know what you don't know. So when they don't know there's actually something that could be integrated or actually might make what they're doing better for their clients or them or easier, that's when they tend to be closed-minded.
Yeah.
What have you seen?
I mean, I've seen a lot of both. I know I myself there is certain practices that I am closed-minded to, and it's just because of experience, right? Like, for instance, some of the group fitness classes, not saying anything, like some of the Orange Theories and some of the other classes similar, I can be very closed-minded to it. Not because I don't think they work. I just don't think I benefit from those certain classes, right? Like, I think it's just kind of like, and you can call it closed-mindedness, but I do think a lot of people in certain spaces are very closed-minded because they're afraid of what they don't know. So it's like, oh, like that methodology or that principle or that practice is new. I don't really know much about it. So I'm going to be closed-minded. I'm never going to use anything from it. I'm not going to take anything from it and apply it to my own practices, my own principles, methodologies, because I don't know. So I think a lot of it does come with inexperience. A lot of it comes with, I'm fearful of what it potentially could do. And it may debunk some of the things that I believe in. It may be like, hey, that's like one of the worst things, right? You think in your head, I don't know this, and I've been doing it wrong for so long. And if you're, a 10-year trainer and you find out that your methodologies may not have been the most efficient, you're kind of like, oh, that's kind of a punch to the ego. It makes me a little fearful. So I don't want to peek over that side of the fence and be like, hey, there's some better stuff, or not even better, but more efficient ways to train. I may be a little fearful of that if I have an ego, if I've been doing this for a long period of time.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely run into that. And I mean, I could be kind of like a little bit closed-minded to the same thing as you is like boot camps or Orange Theory. But and like the reason why I'm closed-minded to like some of those is because the way they're sold.
Yeah. Yeah.
But let's just kind of like change the scenario real quick and being open-minded too. Is like, hey, Orange Theory would be a fine conditioning class if you really like it, and you did it once or twice a week, and you also did once or twice a week with your personal trainer, you did strength training.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Completely. So now I'm like completely open-minded to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
Absolutely.
are there better conditioning
Yeah.
like methods? Of course, but if that person really likes it, so that's like, and I'm assuming you're probably the same way. It's like, yeah, it's a lot of times like an open-minded coach can be closed-minded because something's being sold when it actually isn't.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that's, you said it perfectly with being sold. I think my biggest issue with, because I'm a very open-minded coach, to a certain extent, I think, because there's a lot of fluff out there, a lot of BS out there. Me and you, we rap about that a lot. Um, but I think you're absolutely right. I never thought about it. The way it's being sold to me a lot of the times is this, what I'm handing you, this boot camp, this whatever, is the end all be all. So you don't have to do anything else. That's my biggest issue with a lot of people like myself, like being closed minded is when they're like, hey, this class that we're doing is all you have to do. And you find that a lot. Like some people are really prideful about some of the practices that they do. And they're like, I do, Pilates 6 days a week with no strength training, with no conditioning. And I feel great. This is all I have to do. And it's like, but do you like, and that's kind of my biggest issue, I think, as an open minded coach, where I sometimes get closed minded, wrongfully so. I get prideful and I'm like, well, no, to me, strength and conditioning is a king. Don't matter how you skin the cat. There's nothing better that's been proven in strength and conditioning. But that's me being prideful for my practice and my craft. But I think you're absolutely right. A lot of people sell the package to us as this is the end all be all, do boot camp 6 days a week, and that's all you have to do. I love the fact that it gets people moving, but I don't like the fact that they're so close-minded that it causes me to be close-minded to their practice, which is, I guess, two wrongs don't make a right. But
Well, it's also like with you, I'm as being older, the more you learn, the more you realize that you didn't really know as much as you thought you did when you were younger.
yeah,
Now, you guys like with you and some of the other coaches I work with are younger. They're coming up. They're like way wiser than we were when we were younger. And the open-mindedness is when you're looking at methods, even if it's a method you disagree with, but you see them doing some things that you might like to integrate or you find it interesting, you're willing to learn it
yeah,
or
yeah,
dive into it a little bit.
absolutely.
And that's where you become open-minded. And also like you change season, like there should be seasons of life as you change. And the same with coaching and the things you learn and you integrate different things and you talk to people and you see things that might work better than what you did, or you might learn something, but what you were doing before is better. But it's being open-minded to it and willing to change.
I think that we talk about a lot of times like being a student of the game, sitting back, observing, watching, and I mean I don't know about you, but I think maybe it does come from hanging around people who've been in the game for 2 decades and just kind of observing the way you study fitness in general, like just general health and wellness. And I mean, I've learned so much from you, and not even without you teaching me, you just speaking about stuff. And I think a lot of people, like, they kind of get to that point where they're not a student. They're like, I've learned all I can learn and I'm done. And I think I really quickly can learn in a class. If I'm in a class, all right, this is just fluff. This is literally just like copy and paste of, X, Y, and Z. There's benefit to it, but I think really quickly you can tell how they're presenting it to the class. Like it's kind of almost like half done in a way. And I think that's where it kind of does rub me the wrong way. I'm like, actually this is inefficient. This is, just because I've learned from doing it the wrong way. So I sometimes can turn my nose up at some things and be like, well, I know that's not efficient, and I probably shouldn't be that way. But it's hard when you're in a class, being somebody who really cares about this craft and passion about doing fitness, health, and wellness. You definitely have to bite your tongue a lot because you're like, I personally wouldn't teach it that way, or I personally don't think what you just said is efficient or been proven right. So I do think sometimes I can be a little bit of a snob and not as open-minded and not as much of a student, but it does come from experience.
Well, when you know what you know and you know like what is effective and what is not,
Yeah.
then and they don't. So then that's when it comes across.
Yeah, yeah,
And like I had a method I put online, and another coach said something, hey, you can make it this much better if you just changed one thing. And it was a coach I really respected.
yeah,
And some person might have been like been offended or not. And I was like, oh, thanks for, looking out. Like possibly could have made my workout better. And then I just went into it with them that I actually didn't do that because I was trying to prevent DOMs,
yeah,
delay
yeah,
like, so
yeah,
that's the
yeah,
reason why. And then like we went back and forth, had a great dialogue, but but that was me not getting offended by someone just kind of like, hey, if you get like, oh, thank you.
yeah.
But there's a reason why I didn't do that. Or, okay, maybe I will try that next time.
Yeah, I agree. No, I mean, there's like we said, there's a ton of information out there. Some of it is misinformed information, but I think there's a lot of good information. And I think, like you said, being able to decipher, being able to be a student, have those open, non-aggressive dialogues of like, why do you think that way, and explain it to me. You can get a lot of revealed answers within that dialogue, as opposed to having that closed mindset. So no, I agree. I think there's a lot of benefits to both. But in your opinion, as we wrap this episode up, where do you think the biggest problem is with an open-minded coach? Because I do think there's you could obviously absorb too much information, and you start to change everything that you do, and sometimes it's contradicting. But what do you think the biggest issue is with being an open-minded coach?
When there's like you're too open-minded, you're going to flip-flop a lot.
Mm,
There's got to be these principles that you kind of believe in, like progressive overload
yeah,
and
yeah. Tried and
simplicity to complexity, and like, and those kind of like all go together. Like then those things is like, hey, if you follow these that like almost everybody kind of has to use,
yeah,
then you can't go wrong. But you can kind of jump around too much and learn something and then want to completely 180. That's not, you want to change over time, like little by little, not one complete 80. Like it's like someone coming in and they like dress one way and then all of a sudden they come back and they're all in goth and black, and you're like, wait a second, that's like a 180,
yeah, yeah, for sure.
like you're a completely different person. You're not the same person anymore, and you don't want to do that. You just want to go little by little, and that's how you really see real change in like in coaching, development, in like working with clients and seeing them move through.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. No, I completely agree, man. So you guys listening out there, there is benefits to, obviously being an open-minded coach, being that closed-minded coach. There's not really much you guys can benefit from it, besides the fact that you're just going to be married to your own methodologies or methodologies that you've learned. So advice out there, guys, stay open-minded, observe, be a student, and learn from some of the best.